The infamous 1919 season for the Chicago White Sox. Eddie Collins is playing on that team. Ken Arzone here, Vista, California. Monday, February 24th, 2025. I'm looking at Eddie Collins' career, Baseball Hall of Fame, 333 career batting average. I've covered all his seasons from 1906 up to this one. This will be the 1919 season. How did he do? Why did I say infamous season? Because they made the World Series, the Chicago White Sox, and yet they created the greatest scandal in baseball history. They threw the World Series. 8 players got indicted, accepting bets from gamblers. Joe Jackson, one of them. Eddie Cicotte, another one. Eddie Collins was not listed among the 8 that got indicted. So let's look at Eddie Collins' season. 140 games, 518 at-bats, 87 runs scored, disappointing. Should have had 100. 165 hits, disappointing again. Should have had 180, because that's what he was averaging early in his career. 100 runs scored and 180 hits. 19 doubles, 7 triples, 4 homers, 80 RBIs. Disappointing there. He never reached 100 RBIs in his career. Did you know that? Eddie Collins. And he never hit more than 6 home runs in one season. 47 career home runs. Embarrassing. 33 stolen bases. 68 walks. He does bat .319. I like it. That's his 10th season over 300. 400 on base. I like that. That's the standard for a ball player. 40% of the time on base. 405 slugging. He's not a slugger. And 210 total bases. Disappointing there. Play 140 games. A lot of players who play 140 games get 300 total bases. Not Eddie Collins. Problem is he's not hitting the homers and he's not having enough doubles. Only 19 doubles. Other players are getting 40, 50 doubles, and they're getting 20 or 30 homers. Eddie Collins is a good hitter. 333 career. But for the last 5 years, listen to these totals. Starting with 1915, 173, 168, 163, 91, and now 165. He had a stretch where he had like 6 seasons in a row over 180 hits. He had 198 was his high. So he's been slipping in the last 5 years as far as production of hits in a season. He's had 2 seasons below 300. 3 seasons below 300 during that 5-year stretch. So when they get to the World Series, the Chicago White Sox, they threw it. They accepted money from gamblers. $5,000 under the pillow, right? 1919 season, or World Series, they played the Cincinnati Reds. They won 3 games, White Sox, but they lost 5. They were favored. They probably should have won the series 5 games to 2. But they lose the series 5 games to 3. Eddie had 31 at bats. He had 2 runs scored, 7 hits, 1 double. Had an RBI, stolen base, batted .226. Eddie Collins did not get indicted during that for the following season. But the other 8 did. Joe Jackson, Eddie Cicotte, some of the other names. They went before a jury of their peers and they were found innocent. And so they all celebrated. Did you see the movie 8 Men Out? I've seen it a couple times. Then after the celebration, Judge Landis, Kennesaw Mountain Landis, strange name, Kennesaw Mountain? Anyways, he was the commissioner of the leagues. He suspended all 8 players. Joe Jackson, notably the most noticeable of all of them. Joe Jackson had a .356 career batting average. He was on pace for 3,000 hits. I did a series of videos on Joe Jackson in this YouTube channel. If you want to know where to find it, I've got it here. Let's see. I keep a list. Joe Jackson. If you want to see what I said about his career, videos 1228 through 1241. I do a recap of his career. Solid player, batted over 400 one year, but he got suspended. I think he told his wife. No, his wife. He was talking with his wife one day, Joe Jackson, and she asked him a question. Did you take the money, Joe? And he goes, probably I did. What kind of an answer is that? I read Joe Jackson's autobiography. He hesitated when he gave the answer, and then he said, probably I did. And then there was a kid on the street. He saw Joe Jackson going into a building or something, and he said, say it ain't so, Joe. And Joe looks at him and didn't say anything. That indicates a lot. Joe was guilty. Got suspended. .356 career batting average. Never played baseball after that. 1919 season for the Chicago White Sox. Infamous. They throw the World Series. Why? The players weren't happy with their contracts. Eddie Cicotte was one of them, the pitcher. They booted balls in the infield. They overthrew the cutoff man. Joe Jackson had a good series, but still, I think there was $5,000 under his pillow, and I think he took it. Or that was what the investigation said. I know I've read the autobiography, and that's what I remember. $5,000 under the player's pillow, and that's how they got paid. But a lot of them didn't get the payment in full, even after throwing the World Series. So it's a complete tank scandal in baseball history. That should have never happened. Those players were idiots. All right, that's 1919 season for Eddie Collins. Next video, 1920. After the scandal, see, it took a year to go through the courts and all that. The players weren't suspended until the end of the 1920 season. Joe Jackson did play in 1920. But toward the end, those 8 players were out. Eddie Collins, he had a really nice 1920. We'll get into it in the next video. I'm out.